Hello there and welcome back to another review. So today we're going to be looking at, actually, I'd probably go as far as to say one of my favourite, if not probably the favourite, well, one of my favourites. Let's just say one of my favourite Godzilla movies. I don't know why that is. I love them all very, very, very much. But for some reason, Godzilla vs. Hedorah has always been a favourite of mine. I've always enjoyed this one. I know not necessarily everybody has. But personally, in my eyes, I think it's one of the better movies. I think it's a great Godzilla movie. Made back in 1961, if I can talk, and directed by Yoshimitsu Banno. One thing you'll probably take from this movie is it's got an environmental message to it that's running through it, that it tries to get across with the monster Hedorah sort of representing smog and pollution. I think the overall design and look of Hedorah is brilliant. I absolutely love the look of him. I think he's a great design. I just love how he looks. I love the glowing red eyes, the fact he can change forms, the fact he was created from something, the fact he can fly. There's loads that's going on as to why I love this monster. I just think, for that reason alone, we get a great villain here. You also have to take into account this was Banno's first film as a director. He had significant less budget as compared to the previous movies, and not only that, he had only 35 days to shoot this film. So time was against him, money was against him, that kind of thing. Which, when you look at the finished product, I mean, it's nothing short of amazing. What I think, in terms of when you think of Godzilla movies that are overlooked or undervalued, I think Godzilla vs. Hedorah should be one of on top of the list, or definitely in one of the top movies that is overlooked, because I think it's a brilliant movie. I think there's a lot to enjoy here. Again, all subjective. I know not everybody likes this movie, but for me personally, I think it's a really well done movie. Apparently, Tomoyuki Tanaka hated this movie. He was the producer, and I think he may have fired Banno afterwards, or not long afterwards, I'm not sure, but I think he did get rid of him. I think he may have done. Worth noting as well, this film has a very short and brief animated sequences in it to convey the environmental message. There's just something about this movie though. I think it in terms of an all-round package, I think the whole film just all fits nicely together. I think it really works well. There's very little reliance on stock footage, and I think from a technical standpoint, the film is actually quite impressive. What I love is that it's a film that dares, right? It's a daring film. It tries to go against what has come before. It tries to mix things up in relation to what audience expected and had seen from a Godzilla movie at this point. And for that reason alone, Godzilla vs. Hedorah should be respected and taken notice of. I mean, I'm not just saying this because it's one of my favourites. I'm saying that in terms of, like I said, sort of the dares they did with this movie, to try and inject some new blood into it, to try and give it sort of a, almost not a reboot as such, but it's almost teetering on that idea of just, just giving it a bit more of a fresh lick of paint, so to speak. Banno had every intention to make a sequel to this movie, which I would have loved to have seen. Even in 2013, he is noted as saying he still wanted to make a sequel, but unfortunately he passed away in 2017. Even at the end of the movie, when it says "and another one," implying he was already thinking of what was going to follow it up. Which I think would have been awesome, already planning a sequel. He did, however, help produce the 2014 Gareth Edwards Godzilla movie. I mean, this is a very divisive film in the series, make no mistake. Some people love it, some people hate it. I'm of the former, obviously. But I'm in the love category. I mean, the word Hedorah in Japanese, I think, means polluted mud or something along those lines. I think it's Hedorah or Hedorah, something like that. I think it means mud or something along that nature. And that's sort of where the name for Hedorah comes from. This was also one of the heaviest monster costumes, I believe, that had been used up to this point. I think this costume design was very, very heavy indeed. The film is actually quite menacing in places as well. It's he's quite trippy in places, and yes, Godzilla, as we know from that infamous moment, is able to fly in this movie backwards, I might add, which I might talk about, I might not, but Godzilla can sort of, he can fly backwards. That's enough said, really, about that. So let's get into it. So the film opens in the most peculiar way, right, with this woman singing about pollution in a very psychedelic late 60s, early 70s fashion. Such was the time. It was all trippy and yeah man and this kind of thing. We meet this family and their son Ken is playing with his Godzilla toy. Then this friend of the family bring them like this giant tadpole he has found, and as his dad is like a professor, and it's been announced on TV that a sea creature has been spotted. So whilst the dad is swimming to depths of the sea to investigate, the son Ken waits by the shore and is approached by this mysterious sea monster, which he actually manages to cut as it jumps out of the ocean and then swims away. His dad underwater spots it, and you just have to them glowing red eyes on Hedorah. I just love that design so much. I just love them glowing red eyes, and it's actually, like I say, quite menacing and quite creepy with the overall look and design. Quite sad too with the boy Ken shouting for his dad over and over, not knowing where he is. It's quite a bit of a sad scene. Next, the dad, his name's, I think it's Toro. His name is laying at home after his ordeal with the cameraman, after his ordeal, and some cameraman and reporters sort of in his face. They come in, even though he is scarred. Ken, the young boy, names the creature Hedorah. Then we have the intro of Godzilla, which is quite cool. The way they the big guy gets his they put him in front of this setting sun, and it's quite epic in nature. Sort of the intro that Godzilla gets in this movie. Then this note comes up on screen reading something on the lines of, I bet Godzilla would be mad if he knew about all this pollution, sewage, sludge, etc. The thing is, would he though? Would Godzilla really be annoyed? Would he be mad? And this is what the boy Ken is dreaming anyway. His father learns that tadpoles are born of sludge and become bigger and bigger when they join with other tadpoles. Then the film totally shifts gear, and we go to this it goes to this trippy acid club, where everybody's dropped acid, and it looks like everyone's just taken a plate of magic mushrooms or something. And yet again, we have a girl on stage singing about pollution with no microphone, I might add. Whilst all this is happening, Hedorah has come ashore and starts snorting up smoke from this the smokestacks, it's sort of like his crack pipe or something. He cannot get enough of this smoke. Okay, so he's snorting it up like crazy. Godzilla turns up and starts swinging him around like mad by his behind, to which sludge and slime starts flying everywhere, even kills some people as well. This club scene wasn't trippy enough. One of the guys it was bad enough, right? This whole scene, she's got no microphone, there's colours, and God knows what is going on. So one of the guys starts getting drunk, then imagines everyone in there has got fish heads, right? So this film, it's balls to the wall, different, crazy, making no sense. What the hell's going on? This is pretty much what's going on here. So everybody's got fish heads, which I really have nothing to say about. I'm not even going to go try and sort of explain what's going on there. Then they run out after some sludge came in to ruin their acid party. The guy and the singer run out and watch Godzilla and Hedorah fight, to which Godzilla emerges victorious. I love as well when the monsters are fighting. Look at what is great with this movie, fish heads aside, is when you watch this movie, look at how dark and gritty the skyline is. Look how dark and smoggy they've made the sets and some of the miniatures, and there's none of this clear blue skies, gone of the films of a tropical island and thing like that. This is a very dirty, literally, Godzilla movie. After this fight, it says that 322 buildings got destroyed. Not sure how, as they only fought the harbour area. I really don't think 322 buildings got destroyed. So after a chemistry lesson, we learn that Hedorah came to Earth by meteorite. What is great too is they actually give the monster a real sort of backstory as well. They do flesh it out. If why does he make metal corrode? Why did Ken's father get burn marks? All quite scientific, and that they aren't taking the approach of Hedorah can do this just because. They do give reasons, and even just a tiny bit of a backstory as to why he can do this. Why does he want to do that? That kind of thing. But at the same time, he just came from... they do that, and then they just basically say he just basically come from a sludge planet. So they sort of cover both bases there. You've got the really short version, or you've got a bit more of a scientific version. Then we see Hedorah flying in saucer form, and that is what I love about this monster. We have the whole Freezer, from Dragon Ball Z thing going on. Not only does he arrive in flying saucer form, but also compete with thruster jets. I mean, he's got different forms. That is what I love about this. So after he flies over people, he actually causes them to sort of decompose. We have like this aquatic, like the aquatic phase of Hedorah, then we have sort of the terrestrial phase, and then the airborne phase. So he's got it all going on. He's got all bases covered, literally. So then these groovy cats are like, let's pour our hearts back into the earth, right? It's very hippie in places. It's very sort of flower people vibes going on. So like these groovy cats, they're like, let's pour our hearts back into the earth, and they just start having a music jam, right? They just start having a jam and a boogie next to Mount Fuji, but but they just start having this sort of like, let's just rock out, you know. I mean, why not? I mean, what this accomplishes, I have no idea, but you guys carry on. So then Godzilla and Hedorah turn up and about to square off. The hippies start throwing loads of burning torches at Hedorah, most of whom get covered in sludge. I mean, I will add to the Godzilla in this is well up for a fight. Like, the Godzilla in this movie is more than up for having a bout. He is really up for having a scrap. He's more than up for a rumble with Hedorah. Lots of wide shots here to make the monsters seem bigger, and like I say, I just love the smoke and how gritty it is, and it really works with the film. So after picking up Godzilla and flying off with him to a very, very funky guitar groove that happens with the soundtrack and the score, Hedorah tries to start like covering Godzilla in sludge, basically, and Ken's dad has told the defense force to use electrodes and sonic waves to defeat the monster, because Ken's dad, he's on it, right? He knows what to do. He's informed them to use sonic waves. Lots of the scenes went on location at very dark, almost like they were shot in very early hours of the morning. So Godzilla and Hedorah in their battle take down the power cables after they sort of topple down a hill. And like I say, it's really nice where the films had become sort of, I wouldn't say reliant on stock footage, but it wasn't uncommon for stock footage previous what you'd seen before to happen in a movie. And that's why this film really did feel like a fresh take. I think it did really feel like a bit of a new take on the Godzilla franchise, and just like a different interpretation. It's still a Godzilla movie, but it felt fresh. I think watching it again recently, it does, compared to the films up to this point, it did feel fresh. So the army tries to lure in Hedorah with their vehicle lights, who, by the way, gets loads and loads of screen time, which is no bad thing. I love how we have the shot of Godzilla using his atomic breath from off-screen, which fires back up the electrodes and completely dries out Hedorah's skin. Hedorah goes to fly off to escape, but our big guy uses his airborne atomic breath to catch up with him by flying. The only snag is with doing this, when he uses atomic breath to fly, he has to fly backwards. So he's shooting his breath, he's flying, but he's going backwards. So he can't really ever see where he's going. I mean, it's nice, but it's just not really practical. I don't know. In many ways, I think that's worse than the victory dance in Ghidorah. But, you know, it's all subjective. But I think, like I said, the flying backwards was a big eyebrow raise. But again, like with the victory dance, I couldn't imagine this film without the Godzilla, flying backwards and that kind of thing. So it does fly backwards, and you just can't ever see where it's going. I mean, it does need to be seen to be believed. Like with the victory dance, and just one of them moments you just have to see. Once caught up, he starts slamming the crap out of him on the ground. I love as well that he flies back now with Hedorah, so he can take him back to the electrode equipment to start shocking and burning him again. Though he has to use his atomic breath on it first to get it fired up again as the military blew a fuse. I do love as well, it's really like the humans helping Godzilla. There's very much a team effort here, like Godzilla was full-blown good guy at this point, and you do really get a sense like Godzilla and the military are a team in this movie rather than them trying to take Godzilla down, which I think really does, the idea, them helping him rather than Godzilla being like this unwanted foe. I mean, where the boy Ken has gone at this stage, I have no idea. Where the young boy has gone, who you thought was going to be a huge part of the narrative, a huge part of the movie, he's just all but disappeared. And I love how Godzilla is just tearing into his body, putting his whole fist into Hedorah and pulling him apart piece by piece, which I thought was so awesome. The fact he is just dismantling Hedorah, he is like just ripping him apart, literally. He is just, like I say, taking all the sludge out, bits of mud, everything. He's sort of just breaking him apart piece by piece. keeps going and going until there is nothing left. He's stomping on it and everything, even electrocutes it one last time just to make sure, which I love, until it's just dust. And as I say, Godzilla in this one, and that's another reason why I love this movie, is Godzilla is taking no crap in this movie. He is pretty much all on form. He's really up for a bout. He is just ready to take somebody on. We get one last song about the pollution in the seas and the skies, and ends with Godzilla walking away after his victory. And suddenly, the little boy Ken turns up to wave goodbye. Suddenly, he's there as well. But for all its faults and its daft silliness, I still humbly believe this is a great Godzilla movie. I think it's one that was trying something different. You get a great villain in Hedorah, and just a thoroughly enjoyable movie. That it's one of them movies I think when I think of like Godzilla fans, I think if you don't like this movie, then why not? You know, it's one of them. You know, when you like films so much, you're sometimes not even sure why other people don't like it. And if you're into Kaiju and you're into the old school Godzilla movies and the old school monster movies, this one is definitely worth one checking out. I know loads of you out there and loads of fans, like I say, loads of fans of Godzilla. You don't like this one too much. That's the general consensus. Like, it's good, but it's not great. But to me, as I mentioned earlier, it's severely underrated. It's criminally overlooked, and it's definitely one worth checking out. So if you have going through a Godzilla phase, or you plan to watch the Godzilla movies, or you've just picked up the Godzilla box set or the Shower Era box set from Criterion, please give Godzilla vs. Hedorah a go, because I think it's a really well done Godzilla movie. So thank you very much indeed for watching. I hope you enjoyed the review, and I'll see you again soon.
Don't concentrate on the finger, or you will miss all that heavenly glory.